Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. As you can tell, I am not on camera right now because I am on vacation and didn't bring my camera with me, only my mic, so we're just going to have to make do. Just pretend it's a funky diabetic video. Real quick before I get into discussing this trade, I do want to quickly promote live at 8 o'clock when the draft starts. I'm going to be doing my podcast both on my podcast channel as well as on this channel, just for the sake of getting some more viewership in there. So tune in for that. I'm going to be live with Alex Hoops as well as the return of the King MDJ, who's going to be the first guest on the podcast, subbing in for the beautiful Rudy St. Clair. But yeah, check that out. It will be a fun time. We're going to be reacting to all the stuff live. But anyways, let's talk about a trade that I have some very mixed feelings on. Something I'm going to title this video it'll be along the lines of like, this trade gave me a headache. And it absolutely did. The discourse around this trade has been a little bit annoying to me, and frankly, I am probably going to be a bit more of a hater of this move than your average fan, because I've seen a lot of people discuss this trade in a way that's just bothersome to me. So my first take that probably most people won't agree with is I don't think Marcus Smart is some like significantly worse player than Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps obviously scores the ball better. He is obviously more impactful in terms of being a defender, just given the fact that he's a 7-footer and primarily a shot blocker. Not that Marcus Smart doesn't play well above his size. At the end of the day, he's not like 7'2" with an 8-foot wingspan or whatever it is that Porzingis has. And Porzingis is notably one of the best defenders in the entire league, which is something that's definitely gone under the radar. But of course, Marcus Smart is a Defensive Player of the Year himself. Now, do I believe that is the worst Defensive Player of the Year award possibly in the history of basketball? Absolutely. He wasn't even the best defender on his team, so I don't know how he was the Defensive Player of the Year versus all 29 other teams. But regardless of that, very, very good defender. Their best on-ball playmaker, which is probably more of an insult to the Celtics on-ball playmaking than it is a compliment to Marcus Smart, but it is noteworthy that on-ball playmaking has been the Celtics' probably Achilles heel the past few years, and now you're banking on Jason Tatum being that point forward, which to me personally I've just never been a fan of. I think Jason Tatum is significantly better when you get a healthy mix of off-ball stuff with him, and I think he's a secondary playmaker, not a primary playmaker. Good passer, good ball handler. Should he be your lead passer and lead ball handler? Probably not. So there's that factor. Then there's the culture and leadership factor. Just plainly, I don't get the vibe that Jason or Jalen are really the rallying the troops leader type of guy like Marcus Smart. And I know for damn sure Kristaps Porzingis isn't that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that stuff is significantly more valuable than just tangible, actual basketball ability. I do think there are definitely people that can overrate that stuff, and it feels a little silly how they discuss it. Like, the override all arguments just with he has the heart of a champion or some bullshit, you know? But ultimately, Marcus Smart is a tone setter. He is a culture setting guy. Obviously, Boston's culture isn't always the best, but I don't think Marcus Smart was at fault for that. I just don't. Losing Marcus Smart hurts, regardless of what you get back. And I've seen a lot of people looking at this just as technically the roster got better from an on-paper standpoint. Therefore, it's automatically just this way better move. I don't agree with that. I also don't agree that those first-round picks are of some massive value, especially making this argument for the Memphis Grizzlies specifically. A lot of people were like, they overpaid for Marcus. Obviously, they were getting rid of Tyus Jones one way or the other, it seemed, but, you know, the 2 first-round picks moving as well. A lot of people were like, is Marcus Smart worth 2 first-round picks? Abso-fucking-lutely. He is worth 2 first-round picks. I think that is an idiotic conversation, an idiotic argument, because we're not talking about lottery picks here. We are talking about picks that belong to the Memphis Grizzlies, who for the past 3 seasons have been a top 3 seed every single year, if I'm not mistaken, and I think they'll be that yet again because Marcus Smart's going to make them much better. And yeah, John Morant's going to miss 25 games, but he also missed like 30 last year and they were a top 3 seed. So that does not move me in the slightest. I don't give a damn about the 25th and 27th picks in 2 different drafts if it's going to get me one of the best role players in the league, and again, a defensive player of the year. Again, I know Marcus, I just said he was a kind of fraudulent DPOY, but at least he was a good enough defender to, conceivably win that award. You don't get in that conversation without being one of the best defenders in the league. I just don't think he was the best defender in the league. That's a pretty freaking high bar. But my overarching point, man, like, a very good role player is worth 2 late first-round picks. Like, are you kidding me? It's absolutely. First-round picks are not gold. When you're in the 20s, you're talking about a pick that is very, very hit or miss. And very, very rarely are you getting some significant hit out of that pick. The amount of excellent players that are drafted in the 20s, it's pretty freaking rare. The amount of players that are better than Marcus Smart that you can get in the 20s is not many. Yeah, Memphis has been good at drafting, so maybe they would have, between those 2 players gotten more value than what Marcus provides. It's feasible, but give me the guarantee of Marcus Smart over 2 late first-round picks that might not even pan out any day of the week. And this goes for a lot of trades. I see people treat first-round picks like it's just dollar signs, when it's just not. Picks are not guaranteed. It's an opportunity to do something right. It's not a guarantee by any capacity, and I find it annoying the way that people have talked about it. Annoying that people have suggested this is a bad trade for Memphis. It is not. They, with this move, basically became the best defense in the entire league as far as I'm concerned. Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr., that's 2 of the probably like 15 best defenders in the entire league. They were already, I believe, a top 5 defense. Marcus Smart is only going to make that more insane. You replace the perimeter defense that you're losing in Dillon Brooks, perimeter defense / just getting away with fouls all the time. But, the defense nonetheless, you're replacing that by getting Marcus instead of Dillon. And I've seen some people act like there's some big size difference between those 2. Like, Dillon's like 2 inches taller than Marcus Smart, man. And more notably, Marcus is someone who can defend centers often, even though he is like 6'4". Like, I understand looking at him and being like, he's a little too short to be some great perimeter defender, but like, man, he could probably handle most wings really, really well. So they got that great perimeter defense option. They have Jaren Jackson Jr. being a generational defensive talent. This team is just good, man. It's just so good defensively. And the suggestion that moving Tyus Jones, who was gone anyways, for defense specifically, and 2 picks that aren't going to be good, stupid. It's just plain stupid. After saying all that, I do want to quickly, of course, talk about what this means for Boston in terms of what they actually have now, rather than just, having mixed feelings about Marcus being gone. Kristaps Porzingis fits perfectly with what the Celtics want to do. He is going to they're not going to fall off defensively because they lost Marcus, because Kristaps is probably a better and more impactful defensive player. And again, someone who scores the ball better. So like on an abject sense, on a just true, purely on paper sense, yeah, the Celtics got away with a hell of a trade here because they got a player better than the player they traded and 2 first-round picks. 2 overrated first-round picks, but first-round picks nonetheless. So yes, is this a good trade for the Celtics? 100%. Do I have mixed feelings about it? Would I be surprised if next year we're like, was that actually that excellent of a trade? Wouldn't be surprised by that at all. And it's also worthy of mention, the injury stuff with Kristaps. He just had his healthiest season of, I think, either his career or since his ACL tear, which is noteworthy and important. But it's significant that he's had these issues in the past, and they have so many players that deal with injuries to begin with. That said, the Celtics could very well be competing with Memphis for the best defense in the league. And it's also noteworthy that with Porzingis, you're probably found your Al Horford replacement, because he does a lot of the same things, weirdly enough, while being a more aggressive scoring option. Stretch big, who's a super good defender, a pretty good playmaking hub, believe it or not. That's something that's been developing as his game's gone along. It was really good in Washington specifically. Porzingis can be the Horford replacement, which is something that I think I discussed even going into this offseason, was like, how long is Horford really going to be, Al Horford? Now, Al is presumably going to be a bench piece or starting whenever Robert Williams can't play, which is half of the time. But like a starting lineup of Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, and Robert Williams is insane defensively, and there is plenty of offense to go around there. The only concern that exists within that offense is, again, that playmaking, and I do think that's something that could bite them in the ass yet again, just as it has in the past, just as injuries have. It'll bite them in the ass in that regard. Good trade for the Celtics, but I don't feel good about it. It doesn't make sense, really. But I don't know. That's how I feel, man. I don't know what to tell you. Also, I do want to say for Tyus Jones, this is a good opportunity for him in Washington to prove that he's more than just a backup point guard. I'm a big Tyus Jones fan. I think he is one of the most underrated players in the entire league. And it seems like for the Wizards, they just exist as this team for players to boost their numbers and, get a bigger contract somewhere else. So that's probably exactly what Tyus is doing. I would predict he probably averages 18 and 8 on really good efficiency. Maybe he even cracks the 20. He's a pretty good scorer, pretty good three-point shooter, one of the best assist-to-turnover ratio guys of all time. I think he's currently the best in the entire league. Yeah, he's just really, really good. But yeah, I like this trade for basically all sides. Memphis, I think it was good. The Celtics, I think it was good, even though losing Marcus Smart hurts. And for the Wizards, by contrast to what they were originally going to get, they got better draft capital, and they got a player in Tyus Jones that they can trade away probably at the deadline after he has, had a really impressive season, which I'm quite confident he will. And probably get 2 first-round picks out of him, to which everyone will say, Tyus Jones isn't worth 2 first-round picks. But yeah, whatever. That's the end of the video. Goodbye.